Hi, boys. It's your dad. We're back here to continue with, I believe it's chapter 5, Your Family. Okay, question 1 for the day. What holiday was the biggest event for your family when you were growing up? Definitely Christmas. Christmas was the big holiday for us. Um, it was just, I, I think about Christmas now and I think about how um, I remembered Christmas with the childhood wonder and excitement and stuff like that. And then when you guys came along, I started looking at Christmas through your eyes. And I wanted to give you guys a Christmas experience similar to the one that I had when I was growing up that just felt warm and comfortable and um, joyful and happy to be with family. Um, so yeah, it was definitely Christmas. You know, we okay, I guess going back to the tradition thing. At one point, we had a tradition where we would go down and cut the tree down ourselves, bring it back home. Um, or if it wasn't cutting down the tree, it was all going out as a family to pick the tree. Um, just kind of similar stuff that we did when you guys were young, when you guys were kids. So that's kind of where that developed and came from. Um, I don't know, just an overall feeling of sense of warmth and happiness. What were some of the most memorable ways your family would observe the holiday? Well, I guess I could just talk about my memories of childhood Christmas, the excitement, the anticipation of Christmas Eve. Um, we would go to church on Christmas Eve, um, get dressed up, spend the evening church, come home. Um, at that point, I think if I remember right, it was come home and pretty much go to bed. Get ready, go to bed, leave cookies out for Santa, all the good stuff, and then the excitement of waking up on Christmas morning and coming downstairs to a full lit up tree, presents under the tree. I mean, you guys remember how it is, and still kind of is. Um, Christmas at your grandparents' house. I mean, that was there was never a lack of presents, which as a kid was a big deal. You know, um, when you guys were young, some of our Christmases were a little sparse, little thin. But I mean, I think they were all good Christmases, and I think you guys hopefully had good experiences and good positive memories of Christmas, especially when we were all together, when we were all family and celebrated together. Okay, next. What role did they have on you? What role did they have on you on how you were raised? Um, I think probably, looking back, I can say with the consideration of um, being thankful, you know, being that we did have enough, we had more than enough. Um, so that appreciation, I guess, instilled a value of, not taking things for granted. Um, always trying to be present for moments and situations like that. Don't take those family moments for granted. Trying to just soak that in and be part of the moment and but at the same, take a step back while it's happening and appreciate what's happening. Um, so I think I learned that a lot later. I think in my life. Um, Not that I took things for granted when I was young. Well, I guess when you're young, you take everything for granted that you think that's just how everything is, how everybody acts, how everybody's Christmas is the same, which unfortunately it's not. But nonetheless, yeah, I think it gave me a sense of appreciation and a sense of, I guess, trying to incorporate that joy and love into your guys' experience growing up as well. What values, beliefs, and rules were strongly emphasized during your upbringing? Wow. We grew up in the church more or less. I mean, we weren't strict, devout Catholics, um, but we went to church every Sunday, and that happened in my lifetime until probably I was about 16 or 17. We would all go to church to go to mass together. Um, Again, growing up in Catholic schools, so and the beliefs were just to be a good person, um, just try and be the best person that you could be, and that's still something that I try to live by now. Just try and be a little bit better than you were yesterday, type deal. Um, Rules. I mean, it was a standard. Don't drink, don't do drugs, which I did great at later in life. But honestly, it probably there's a part of me that held back on doing things, you know, hard drugs, doing like coke and heroin and meth and all that kind of shit. I didn't have a real desire to get into that side of addiction. And I think that was a lot had to do with how I was raised and the things that your grandparents taught me and emphasized to me. When I was young and impressionable, it was the 80s. It was the Just Say No campaign. Um, and there was a lot of fear that went into that. There was part of the thing was just like, if you try drugs once, you'll be hooked forever. Um, so, I mean, that I think in the back of my mind, that really played a big factor as far as what I experimented with and what I didn't. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there were rules. No specific rules other than that, like, really jump out to me um, in my recollection. But, it be what it be. So, but yeah. Alrighty. What was the best advice my parents ever gave me? Don't do hard drugs! Oh man, I think about this from time to time and how it relates to me and you. Um, we didn't have one of those, oh yeah, my dad always says type thing. Um, I'm sure there's bits of advice that I was given along the way that I probably looked the other way on. You know, I think we all go through that phase where, well, if my parents say it, I'm not going to listen to it, or they're wrong, or whatever. Um, which I always kind of this resonates to me. This example, Jake, this applies to you specifically. During basketball, um, it's probably like maybe probably seventh grade when we first started getting into train first, and you had that team with Jeff as your head coach. Um, you and I, we would always talk about things after practice or after games or such and such, and I was like, oh, you should try this or do this or that and the other, and it seemed like you could comprehending it, but it didn't like show through or whatever until something happened during a game, and I was just like, yeah, see, no, that's what thinking to myself, that's what I'm talking about. Yes, do that. And then I'm like, what changed after a game? And he said, oh, Jeff told me this, that, and the other. And I'm just like thinking to myself, that's the exact thing I just told you about or told you to do. But you didn't put it into motion until somebody else told it to you. And so that's what I'm talking about. I think that's an example of just advice given to me um, from parents maybe I didn't listen to that I should have, but then maybe got that same advice from someone else that made more sense. I don't know, but I mean, obviously your grandparents are a big part of me now as well as back then. Um, so I don't know. There's probably traumatic things that I went through as a child that I've blocked out that they talked to me about and gave me advice or direction. Um, I remember Nana telling me this story one time of how I was, probably like fourth or fifth grade. Something happened. I'm crying my eyes out, and she was in my bedroom with me, just me and her, and I'm telling her all about it, and she told me whatever she told me. I don't know if just it'll be all right, or gave me advice towards it, but I have no recollection of that. It was apparently a big moment for her, but unfortunately, I've blocked it out due to the trauma. All right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up for today, and we'll get back into it tomorrow. We're still going on your family. Um, so yeah. So again, I hope you guys are enjoying this. You wanted to know. So, anyways, I love you boys.